Welcome back, everyone. Let's dive right into today's explainer, which covers a genuinely unsettling topic. We all remember school field trips, right? You know, the permission slips, the packed lunches, that awesome feeling of ditching the classroom for the day. We universally accept them as these perfectly safe, highly supervised bubbles. But what happens when that supposed safety literally evaporates in an instant? Today, we're breaking down the anatomy of a nightmare. We'll be walking through 3 specific case studies where the illusion of safety was completely shattered, leaving young students totally vulnerable to some unimaginable threats. Listen to this. If either of you try to make any moves, I'll kill you. Just imagine hearing that as a 7th grader on a school trip. No way, right? It instantly grabs you. This one single sentence perfectly captures the core theme we're exploring today, just how shockingly fast everyday normalcy can vanish. Literally, 1 minute you're just looking at fish, and the next, you're quite literally fighting for your life. Now, a chaperone is officially defined as an adult who accompanies and supervises young people. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, keep that strict definition in the back of your mind, because the massive, almost unbelievable negligence of the very authority figures assigned to protect these kids is exactly what links our 3 terrifying case studies together today. Case 1, the aquarium abduction. So, our first case kicks off as this seemingly harmless 7th grade trip to Ripley's Aquarium of the Smokies in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Picture an end-of-the-year celebration nestled in a mountain town surrounded by endless hills. Sounds fun, right? Well, the real catalyst for this whole nightmare was a science teacher named Mr. Russo. While the other chaperones were actually doing their jobs, Mr. Russo was entirely lackadaisical. His total failure to supervise meant that 2 students, the narrator and his buddy Aiden, were able to effortlessly bail from the main lobby. They just wandered completely alone through the empty aquarium until they stumbled into this dark room lit up only by the deep blue glow of the tropical fish tanks.
And man, this situation escalated terrifyingly fast. Out of the blue-lit dark, this assertive guy in cargo shorts walks right up to them. He asks if they're with the field trip, and when they say yes, he just commands them to come with him. Naturally assuming he's some sort of employee, the nervous 7th graders obey. So step 2, he leads them through these dark back hallways, past the bathrooms, and out a back exit door right near the woods. Step 3, he casually tells them he has to drive them around to the front to let them back in, and orders them into the back seat of his car. And then step 4, instead of turning toward the aquarium, he turns left, completely away from the venue. And then comes that visceral, totally horrifying sound, the car locks clicking down. The danger genuinely hits its absolute peak right here. The man turns and tells these kids he'll kill them if they move. And then he proceeds to slide out what looks like a massive knife from his glove box. He then drives these 2 terrified kids uphill into a totally isolated woodsy neighborhood. We're talking no houses, absolutely no traffic, just them and a predator. The guy pulls over, gets out with the knife, and yanks open the narrator's door. He tells him to get out, threatening Aiden to stay exactly where he is. But you know what? Survival instinct takes over. The narrator just screams, "Run!" Aiden scrambles out the other unlocked door and sprints downhill as fast as he can. The narrator dodges the man and absolutely books it. The crazy part? The man actually chases them. He even throws the knife. It misses the narrator by mere inches, clanging onto the pavement right in front of him. The boys just keep running downhill for their lives until the guy finally gives up. Miraculously, they make it all the way back to the aquarium. And guess what? The incredibly negligent Mr. Russo never even noticed they were gone. Case 2, the ghost photo. Okay, moving on to an 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip. The students were out on an evening walking colonial ghost tour. Now, the guide confidently assured the group right off the bat, telling them, don't expect much. There will likely be nothing supernatural. But the reality? Well, a student named Jessica, who honestly rarely took photos at all, snapped a quick picture of a vacant, eerie blue-hued colonial home. And she captured evidence that completely, utterly shattered the guide's totally mundane expectations. When they actually looked closely at that digital camera screen and zoomed in on the 2nd floor window, it was chilling. There were 3 distinct figures staring right out at them. First, you could see this translucent outline of a woman. Second, there was a taller man standing directly behind her. Now, this perfectly matched the tragic history the guide had literally just told them about. A homeowner whose wife had tragically died in childbirth, leaving him devastated. He deeply resented his homely daughter, forcing her to stay upstairs to learn to sew and weave, claiming her hands were her only good attribute. So the man and the woman in the window clearly aligned with his bitter father and his tragic daughter. But what about the 3rd figure?
Right, because there was this harder to make out, dark female figure standing off to the side of the father and daughter. So the narrator raises her hand and asks the guide, "Hey, did anyone else live in that house?" The guide looks absolutely stunned. She suddenly confirms a detail she had completely forgotten to mention. Yes, a black female servant had also lived with them during that exact time period. The photo had literally captured a piece of history the guide hadn't even brought up yet, completely cementing the terrifying reality of what those kids were looking at. No way that's a coincidence, right? Case 3, the abandoned den. This brings us to our final and maybe most adrenaline-pumping case, set in a massive, unfinished, totally abandoned drug den deep in the woods. And once again, here we see that recurring, dangerous theme of authority failure. This was a high school forensics trip. The teacher, Mr. Stevenson, had somehow finessed the school into letting them visit this surreal, overgrown, super sketchy location. But he was so painfully lax about the whole thing. He was just giving this super casual tour down on the lower levels, completely ignoring the fact that students were wandering off into the unfinished, highly dangerous upper floors, which is exactly what the narrator and his friend Gianna decided to do. So their ascent into danger happens in 3 distinct steps. First up, they navigate the middle floors, noticing that the debris starts clearing out the higher they go. Step 2, they reach the second highest floor, which is quite literally just rotting wood foundation riddled with giant holes. And step 3, they quickly realize the stairs to the absolute top floor have been completely stripped away. All that's left is a gaping hole in the ceiling directly above them. Standing right beneath that hole, the sensory horror just kicks in. Gianna spots something. The narrator calls out into the empty space, asking how to get up there, but there's no verbal answer. Instead, they hear this weird ticking noise. You know, like the exact sound someone makes when they're calling a cat? Yeah. Then, a black-sleeved arm slowly comes into view from the hole above, waving them up. The person up there is lying completely flat, totally hidden from view, just waving that arm and making that incredibly unnerving ticking sound. Gianna instantly urges them to leave, and she's right. Right as the narrator agrees, the hidden person suddenly yanks their arm back. They hear the sharp, aggressive scrape of a shoe against the wood foundation above them. As the 2 students frantically turn to leave the main room, they hear this massive crash echoing from far behind them. The man had actually dropped down through one of the holes in the ceiling. He turns his head and locks eyes with them. And guys, he does not look like some harmless urban explorer. He looks dangerous, unstable, and he is staring dead at these 2 isolated high schoolers. What happens next is a pure, high-stakes flight for survival. The students just bolt. They flee down 1 flight of stairs, look back and see the man is 3 flights above, just staring down the long, dark corridor at them. The narrator screams at Gianna to go, and they race blindly down 5 more flights of stairs. When the narrator manages to look up again, the man is still there, but he has rapidly closed the distance. He is actively, aggressively chasing them down. They finally burst out onto the bottom floor, hearing the totally oblivious voice of Mr. Stevenson nearby, having narrowly, and I mean narrowly, escaped a profoundly horrific fate. Surviving the unexpected. So what does this all mean? Well, these 3 terrifying cases leave us with some absolutely crucial takeaways. First, chaperones often provide a totally false sense of security. Authority figures are entirely capable of massive negligence. Second, as we saw with those car locks clicking down and that unstable man dropping from the ceiling, situations can escalate from perfectly normal to deadly in literally a matter of seconds. Third, trusting your own gut instincts is absolutely vital, because when authority completely fails you, your survival rests solely on your own shoulders. And finally, the unknown, whether it's a very real dangerous predator or something inexplicable and supernatural in a colonial window, is always present, just hovering right out of sight. I really want to leave you with a provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer today. Knowing exactly how fast that safety net can dissolve, when you look back at your own childhood field trips, how safe were you really? It kind of makes you reconsider those fond memories, doesn't it? Thank you so much for diving into this analysis with me. Always stay aware of your surroundings, and please, never take the illusion of safety for granted.